Hakari's domain expansion has to be one of the coolest but most complicated abilities in Jujutsu Kaisen. Never did I imagine that I would be talking about anime on the internet, but let alone a gambling addict who summons pachinko machines and flying idol girls all around his opponents. I guess this is my life now, but hey, I have a job to do and I'm here for it. Although sounding silly and over the top on the surface, Hakari's domain is incredibly busted, allowing him to tap into unlimited reserves of cursed energy whenever he hits a jackpot. However, the conditions for meeting those jackpots aren't always clear and is something that I hope to clarify in this video. So without any further ado, let's talk about perhaps the most complicated domain expansion in all of Jujutsu Kaisen, Hakari's Idol Death Gamble. So first, I think it's important that we actually need to define what happens when Hakari activates his domain expansion. As I mentioned before, Hakari summons pachinko machines around his opponent and the arena resembles a typical pachinko parlor. For those who are unfamiliar, pachinko is essentially a slot-based machine game that's really popular in Japan. Since gambling is forbidden, this game is their version of traditional casino slot machines. When playing pachinko, these tiny silver balls cascade down the middle, hitting a bunch of small pins where the goal is to have those balls land in specific areas on the machine that will allow you to spin a slot machine. Once you hit the jackpot on that said slot machine, you're rewarded with more balls that you can cash out for money after you're done playing. Okay, so with that little exposition out of the way, how does this tie into Hakari's domain? Well, it's close in some ways, but also doesn't quite resemble how real-life pachinko is played. It's important to note that like the standard slot machines we've seen in casinos and media, each of them have a different theme associated with it. And of course, since Hakari's domain is directly controlled by him, he can choose whatever theme he wants. Therefore, that's why he modeled his domain around his favorite romance manga, Private Pure Love Train. So when the domain activates, we get introduced to 7 different characters, all associated with a different number. The goal, which is rather intuitive, is to have all of the characters in order hit a jackpot for you. As we know, when a jackpot occurs, this allows Hakari to gain an infinite supply of cursed energy for 4 minutes and 11 seconds. But what happens if he doesn't hit a jackpot? Well, in normal pachinko, there's a term defined as a reach where if you roll 2 of the same number and the third is different, you get another chance to re-roll to match all 3 numbers. For example, let's say I roll 2 6s in real life pachinko. That would then satisfy a reach condition and I would be able to roll again to match all 3 numbers. Hakari's domain doesn't quite work like this, but there are some similarities to the real world that indicate your probability of hitting a jackpot, which show up in Hakari's domain as well, which are balls, shutters, and pseudo spins, and we'll talk about each 3 and go into depth on what those exactly are. Like in normal pachinko, Hakari has 3 colored balls that he could shoot, which indicate his probability of hitting a jackpot. You have green balls which indicate low probability, red indicating medium, and gold indicating high probability. For the shutters, they're essentially gateways in which balls can travel through, which increase your odds in hitting a jackpot. In the case of Jujutsu Kaisen, the shutters in Hakari's domain expansion are the train doors that can be opened and closed. Once a ball passes through a train door, Hakari gets a chance to spin to hit a jackpot. If Hakari tries 3 spins and doesn't hit a jackpot, then he manifests a rainbow colored ball which corresponds to a guaranteed jackpot. Think of it like when you're trying to roll for a specific item or a loot box and you don't get the rarity that you're looking for. Some games will have a pity system integrated into its probability to eventually reward you with a high tier item if you've had many unsuccessful attempts. So what's the role of each ball and shutter? Well, they'll ultimately tell you what performance scenario will occur, which adds another layer of complexity to Hakari's domain, which we're going to talk about right now. A performance scenario is basically an unskippable cutscene that plays out and determines whether Hakari will actually hit a jackpot or not. As outlined by Hakari himself, each of these performance scenarios have a star value associated with them, and that particular value illustrates how likely you are to hit a jackpot, with 1 star associated with low probability and 3 stars associated with high probability. In fact, with 3 stars, the probability of hitting a jackpot is 80%. So to summarize thus far, Hakari's domain begins and a ball is shot into one of the train cars. Depending on the color of the ball, a certain cutscene may begin playing, and depending depending on the star value of that particular cutscene, Hakari then has the chance to hit a jackpot and obtain his cursed energy bonus. However, even if the scenario that is playing is low probability, Hakari has the chance to increase its probability with what's called chance boosters. So let's say for instance Hakari has a 1-star scenario playing, but a chance booster appears. This automatically increases his odds of hitting a jackpot compared to the default odds of the scenario before. So far, there are 3 scenarios that we know of with Hakari's domain, which are Yume's background, Amanogawa's cutscene, and the group indicators scene. With the Yume and Amanogawa conditions, the odds are increased by some unknown amount, but with the group indicator scene, this automatically guarantees a jackpot. So now that we've talked so much about actually hitting a jackpot, let's talk about what exactly happens when Hakari hits one besides the cursed energy bonus. So as briefly touched on before, he gains access to an unlimited supply of cursed energy for 4 minutes and 11 seconds, the length of the song Private Pure Love Train. And while Hakari never properly learned reverse curse technique, he automatically outputs it during this time period that his jackpot is activated. So basically, as mentioned by the narrator during his fight against Kashimo, he practically becomes unkillable for 4 minutes and 11 seconds. And to make things even worse for whoever Hakari is facing, even before he hits this jackpot, he can continually loop through his domain until he does hit one. And you're essentially stuck in this loop until you outright kill Hakari or he hits a jackpot, which in that case, good luck. Now, after Hakari hits a jackpot, there's something ingrained in the domain itself that either results in increased probability or faster spins. This by default will happen 75% of the time when Hakari hits a jackpot. If this doesn't happen, then he has only a 1 out of 239 chance of hitting one at this point. With increased probability, as the name implies, it gives Hakari an increased chance at hitting a jackpot the next time he casts his domain. We don't exactly know what the boost in his odds are though. With faster spins, it's not explicitly stated what this does, but I'm guessing it allows Hakari more spins in a shorter amount of time, ultimately resulting in him being able to hit a jackpot much faster than he originally could. So overall, this domain is absolutely busted and leads to Hakari constantly being in this near unkillable state with no way to truly combat against him unless you're able to cancel out his domain with a stronger one or deal mortal damage between the gaps in his domain. And we know it activates in less than 0.2 seconds, which is the amount of time it took Gojo to cast his Unlimited Void in Shibuya. So needless to say, good luck trying to kill him between domains. As discussed in my Hakari video, which you can check out here, this domain truly capitalizes on his skill of being lucky, and is one of the reasons you should always bet on Kinji Hakari. Thank you so much to the members of my channel. You guys are absolutely fantastic and your support is really appreciated. Have a great day and I'll see you all in the next one. Stay curious, anime fam. Peace.